So, Rich, how can my real estate photography business grow and stay on the cutting edge?
I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, by including hdphotohub.com. You just upload your photos and your clients will get a property website, social media flyers, and videos all automatically.
Wow, that seems pretty easy. What do I do to get started?
It is easy, and all you have to do is register today at hdphotohub.com. And if you're using the referral code Shooting Spaces, you get your first property marketing kit absolutely free.
Free?
Yeah, free. HD Photo Hub is where great photos become a powerful marketing kit. Again, that's hdphotohub.com.
This is Shooting Spaces with Rich Baum and Brian Berkowitz.
Hello and welcome to Shooting Spaces. This is Brian from New York.
And Rich Baum from, we're going.
I figure it's the last episode
Let's
for a couple of weeks. Let's get a little nostalgia.
Do it the old-fashioned way. Go ahead.
Welcome to Shooting Spaces. This is Brian from New York.
And Rich Baum from Sacramento, California.
And thanks for tuning in. And, as I mentioned briefly just a second ago, this is going to be our last episode before we take a couple of weeks off for break. So I decided at the last second to go a little nostalgic there. But nevertheless, Rich, you were telling me it's hot as hell over there in California.
It's been pretty hot, not super, super hot, but like 100, 102. And it's just wears you down month after month of 3 months of 100 degrees.
So, right in the summer grind now, right?
Yeah, really in the summer grind. And it'll slow down a little bit, and it seems to be slow a little bit for other people too. But got a good commercial shoot today and coming up, and things are great. Enjoying summer with my kids, both at home, and windsurfing, kiteboarding, and having a good old time.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, I'm going to get right into it for this episode because we have a ton to discuss. And we thought since we're going to be, I guess, off air for a little while, it's best to bring him on for this last episode. And I think we're going to bring him back also when we come back on. But I want to introduce Brandon Cooper, who is the owner of PFRE and I guess the founder of the PFRE Conference. So Brandon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be back.
Yep. So for those who don't know, we had Brandon on, I guess a couple months ago at this point, which was soon after your takeover from Larry of PFRE. And we had you on just to kind of go over your plans and your thoughts and, what your hopes were for PFRE. And one of the things you did tell us at the time was you would love to one day be able to have a conference. And little did we know, a couple months later, here we are. So we're going to get into as much as we can about this upcoming conference because I think it's huge for all of us. It's huge for our industry. But before we even get into the nitty gritty, why don't you just tell us how this whole concept came about and, what drove you to go and want to actually start this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I like many folks out there, I was part of PFRE for a lot of years and, developed a lot of really good relationships with folks from around the world, but it was all online. Never really had an opportunity to get face-to-face with people and meet in person. So back in, I think 2016, actually, when I was away, our city got evacuated from wildfire. At that time, Tony Colangelo and I decided to start doing a workshop. So since then, we've done a handful of workshops. And one of the common sort of themes when we would ask folks what they appreciated at the workshop or what they liked, what they didn't like when we were trying to get some feedback, there was all that discussion of, hey, it was fun to come and learn a few things and travel to a new place. But no matter where we were or who we were talking to, everybody had the same feedback. They just loved coming to a place where they could get face-to-face with people that either they may have known over the years online, and finally being able to meet them in person was really exciting. And then being able to leave their market and sort of converse and hang out, get to know, build some relationship with some folks that are of like mind, that do real estate photography. Because at the end of the day, it's in our own markets, we're kind of like islands. At the end of the day, we don't really want to necessarily share all of our secrets with our competition. And there's all that kind of stuff. So when you're in your own market, it's a little bit lonely. So I really felt like the folks in our community could benefit from an opportunity to get together, meet a lot of the people that they've known online, and then again have an opportunity to pull vendors and really cool speakers together to have a big sort of event once a year, so everybody can kind of get together. And at the end of the day, like I said, just, make some relationships and foster ones that have already been there and just have a great time. So that's where it all came from, and we're getting close.
Cool. I mean, I have so many questions and things I want to discuss, from vendors to speakers to itinerary to this big party you keep speaking of. But but I guess we'll kind of go through one thing at a time, and maybe start with some speakers that we know we have lined up so far. And we know that we have a whole list of people, including Mike Kelley, Scott Hargis, among many others. So I don't know if there's anyone new that has not been. I mean, the good thing about this conversation right now is Rich and I know as much about this conference as everybody else out there. So anything that you're going to tell us, this is the first time we're hearing it, and I don't know if there are new things that you can announce or release, but if there are, we'd love to hear it. If there isn't, we completely understand. But so far the people who have publicly been announced, talk to us a little bit about how you came about those people and why you brought those people on and what you think they can all bring. And if you know what some of those speakers plan to speak about, I don't know if they have their topics yet.
Yeah, sure. So at the end of the day, this is a first-time event, right? So everything is somewhat of a guess. We don't know how many people are going to show up. It was very difficult finding a venue that could be just as good with 100 people as it could be with 500 people. So initially, that was the number one challenge. So what I tried to do was assemble a group of speakers that I felt was good enough to launch with, that justified sort of the price of admission, so that folks could see that list of speakers and say, hey, you know what? Those are a bunch of guys I want to learn from. That's worth me pulling the trigger and going to Vegas and hanging out with everybody. If we could launch with those guys, then it would give them, because I felt that it was very important to give folks as much time as possible to plan and budget for this event. So if I had to try and organize everything ahead of time and then launch it, I wouldn't be able to give people much notice. So through the community and through contacts and relationships that we have, I settled on 5 folks that I thought brought enough value to the table that people would be interested right out of the gate. And then my hope was that if we could launch with those folks, get some registrations going, then over time we could add to that list, bolster up the conference. And by the time we get there, we've got a full-fledged event ready to rock. So we launched with, as you mentioned, we've got Mike Kelley, Scott Hargis, Tony Roslund, Barry McKenzie, and Tony Colangelo. Now, those 5 main guys I thought bring a very unique sort of vibe to the conference. You've got Scott, who has written arguably the most famous, real estate lighting book in existence. Everybody's bought it. I think they sold close to 7,000 copies over the years. So almost everybody has read that book at some point or another. Mike Kelley, I mean, he's all over the place. He's done the tutorials with f-stoppers. A lot of folks have learned through him. Then you've got Barry and Tony Roslund, who have done a lot of the RGG EDU stuff. Barry has such a signature look. Tony Roslund he's a 3rd-generation photographer, so he brings experience beyond belief. And then you got Tony Colangelo, who, I've advocated in the past, one of the best, if not the best coaches out there. The guy's knowledge is incredible, and he's just an amazing guy. So I thought that those 5 folks, brought a lot of value to the table, and they were all eager and keen to jump on board. And so we sort of confirmed that original roster, launched with it, with the intention of then adding some more folks as we went along. Now, I can tell you tonight, moving a little bit forward, unfortunately, Barry McKenzie has had to drop out of the conference. So that's a huge bummer. But that being said, part of what I was excited about our conversation tonight was the opportunity to announce a few more speakers that we've added to the roster. So I don't know if you want to get into that right now or not.
Well, before we even get into that, let me just ask you the original 5 or the original 4 now. Do we know, or are you able to tell us yet what each person is going to speak on, or is it still up in the air? Or
yeah, so Tony Colangelo is he has one of the most amazing branding presentations that I've ever seen. And anyone that's gone through coaching with Tony has spent some time on branding. And I know back in the day when I first did my coaching with him, that was one of the most valuable things that I took away. So Tony is going to focus on the branding aspect of the business.
Sure.
Now, let me think here. So we've got Tony. Actually, to be honest with you, out of the 4 that are left from that main roster, Tony's kind of the only one that I'm 100% sure what he's going to be talking on. Okay. I've had conversations with Scott and Mike and the other Tony, but I don't really want to I don't really want to go down that road if they're going to end up, because we're 4 months out, right? So these guys are still kind of figuring out what they want to talk about. They're doing their own research as to what would bring value to the community and what would be relevant for our group. So eventually, in the next probably, I don't know, I'm guessing 6 weeks or so, they'll know exactly what they want to talk about. So at that point, we can go into a little bit more detail. When we talk about the speakers that are being added to the roster here in the next little bit, I actually have a little more information on what specifically they'll be speaking
Okay,
about.
cool. No, but, I definitely respect that. I'd rather, like you said, not say anything than, tell people what their itinerary is going to be, and then people get there and it's something different. So,
right.
Well,
at the end of the day, sorry to interrupt, but just to one more point on that, these guys are the definition of professionals. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing, and they, in one way or another, they've kind of come up through this industry, so they know the challenges that we all face as real estate photographers. So the last thing that I want to do is rush them into giving me a topic just for the sake of having a topic to talk about. I'm trusting them as professionals and as educators that, they're going to sit back, think about what they want to talk about, think about what the industry needs, and they're going to come to the table come November and have something really good to offer. So I'd love to be able to talk about it right now, but unfortunately we're not really in that position quite yet.
All right, no problem. So, I know publicly today, there have been others that have been released so far. But I guess you can get into who else we have going on, who's speaking. Maybe there are people that, have not been publicly made available yet, but, who else do we have on the list, on the roster?
Sure. So there's a couple that I've kind of let out sort of just casually. We haven't done any really official announcements, but, over and above the 4 originals that we still have, we've got 4 more speakers that we can kind of make officially public today. So I'll kind of go one at a time, and then if you have any questions about each individual speaker, just feel free to interrupt me. So one of the ones that's really kind of cool, and it's sort of maybe out of the realm of what people would typically anticipate having at our conference, is a lady by the name of Rachel Brinke. I don't know, you guys might be familiar with her. She's on the East Coast. She goes by the title of the Law Talk. So she's a lawyer who kind of focuses on photography law and copyrights and all that kind of stuff.
I'm actually part of her group, and I've read her blog before. So,
is that right? Okay.
I'm not a daily reader or a consistent reader, but I have read it before, and I came across it when I had some legal issues, and I came across her blog. So I am familiar with her.
Okay, cool. Yeah, she's something else, man. We've had a few conversations, and her story is just incredible. She's got a massive following. I don't even know what she's up to. I think she's got 175,000 email subscribers and 50,000 Facebook followers or something like that. She's a, what do you call it? Like a Ironman competitor. She's a mother of 5. Her story is incredible. She's a cancer survivor, and I've just seen her energy on stage and her knowledge, and the fact that, one of the challenges or one of the things that have been talked about so much in our industry lately is, issues like copyright and usage and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of folks getting into the industry they really struggle with terms of service, and it's a tough thing to approach when you lack confidence because you're a little bit new. So I thought that she was the perfect fit to come and talk about the legal side of things, but she also brings a lot of knowledge on the entrepreneurial side, in terms of protecting your business, making sure that you set up your company properly, making sure that, as you move forward building your business, you're not kind of going down a road where you're exposing yourself to risk. So we've been in conversation for over a month now, and literally this morning I got the signed contract back. So it was pretty exciting for me. I think she's going to be absolutely amazing. And, I reached out to some folks that have been to some of her talks. She's done some TED Talks. She's done some creative live stuff. And everyone I've talked to that has seen her speak has just been over the moon. So I'm really excited about her.
Oh, nice. That's great. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So then moving along, we've, I don't know if you guys have probably never heard of this guy, but what's his name here? Wayne Capilli?
I think it's Capilli.
Capilli.
Yeah, that's a little known fact.
Yeah. Yeah, he pretty much doesn't need any introduction. You know, he's one of those guys that everybody holds in high regard. He's one of the best out there, and he's always super active in the social media world. Now, Wayne,
Sure. He was on the podcast like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and I've heard him on here a few times. So he, Wayne, I've never met him in person, but every time we've conversed, he's been just such a great guy, and he, I'm excited to have him involved. So he's going to be talking about light farming. So I don't know how much.
I was going to guess that.
Yeah, it's kind of his thing, right? So I don't know if you want to just dive into that a little bit and break it down, because it's something that I'm not super familiar with. I understand the concept, but it's not something that I've practiced a lot on my own. So I don't know if you want to just kind of shed some light on that.
Yeah, I'll give you what I know. It's kind of, and forgive me if I'm not correct, Mr. Capilli, but it really is a way of shooting in a direction and using the direction from, let's say you're at one end of the house and you're shooting the living room, and behind it is the dining room, behind it is the the kitchen, such and such. It is going in a direction and setting up your lights so you are, in effect, utilizing the same lights. You're planning your shots out, utilizing your same lights that will help you speed up your workflow. And it's a process that I work on all the time, and I really look forward to actually seeing it from Wayne himself on how it works. So it's really it will be a very valuable tool. A lot of these things are just going to be learning things that will translate right away to saving money. And it's this. I think this workshop, this conference is just going to be such a great learning experience that will come away with stuff we can use the next week. And the light farming is one of them. So hope I described that in a good way.
Yeah, that's our hope. And that's kind of the way I got it. You know, when I talked to Wayne, was essentially setting up your lights once so that you don't have to move them too much as you're shooting. So, I mean, that's an art in itself. I'm really excited personally to see how that all works out for Wayne. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, moving forward here. So, one of the other things that I thought would be valuable for us to touch on at the conference would be social media marketing. I'll admit, hands down, definitely not my thing. I'm not a social media guy. I've been a private type person my whole life. So my wife gives me a hard time for not wanting to be in Facebook photos and all that kind of stuff. And it's not something that I, avoid, but it's just not something that I've ever really paid a lot of attention to. And so I'm not very savvy in it. And in my market, I don't need a lot of that because it's a very small market. It's very isolated. I have my clients. They are who they are. I can't draw on anyone else that's not in my market. So I've sort of avoided that. Now, this lady, her name is Nancy Smith. She's based out of Calgary, Alberta. She's just south of me here in Canada. She's got about 10 years experience in social media. She works for the city of Calgary, handling all of their social media marketing. And she's also an instructor at the University of Calgary and Mount Royal University, as well as the Canadian Marketing Association. And she's done some work with some big brands like Samsung, and she's worked with the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. And she came to me with an idea where she wanted to talk about social media success in 2020. And she wanted to kind of touch on the ideas of how to apply sort of the latest digital trends affecting social media marketing, and then how to figure out where your audience spends their time on social media so that you can find them and connect. And she also is very sort of aware of the fact that social media is changing so rapidly, and that creates so many challenges for folks in our industry. And she wants to touch on that. So I'm really excited to see her speak. She came to me very highly recommended from a few colleagues. So I've never actually met her in person. We've had a couple conversations, and I'm really excited to see her. I think she's going to bring a lot of value to the crew.
No, that sounds great. And I think that's something that most of us are missing or lacking the knowledge to do it right.
Yeah, well, it's such a powerful tool, and it's so pertinent today. And even next year is going to be even more so. And it's something that I embraced Instagram this year. and it's made a big difference to me. And I just think that I look forward to seeing a speak about each of these subjects. But social media for me is going to be a big topic. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's one of those things where you just, being savvy at social media is almost a full-time job in itself. So having someone that can come through and cut, like my ask of her was just, listen, there's so much out there. There's so much for us to worry about. Can you help us cut through all of the noise and focus on just a couple things that maybe we can take home with us and apply immediately when we get back into our markets and start working our business? And that's why she came back to me with those ideas. And I thought that was fantastic. So really looking forward to that. I think she's going to be fantastic. And then awesome. And so then the fourth person that we've sort of officially added to the speakers roster here is Gary Gomez. And he's no stranger to you guys. He put out a mastering real estate photography tutorial this year that did incredibly well. The reviews that I've received on that and the calls that I've had, just people saying, hey, holy smokes, Gary Gomez knows what he's talking about. Number one, he's a great guy, super fun to be around. Number two, he knows what he's talking about. He's got a lot of talent. He's a really good shooter. And number three, which is one of these things that, it's one thing to be an amazing photographer and to do really well. It's a whole different story to be a good teacher. Gary is a born teacher. I've talked to him, we probably speak almost once a week, and he just has a natural ability to teach, to convey his point, and he's really easy to learn from. So I'm really looking forward to him being on stage, and I think a lot of folks, and the thing that's cool about Gary too, a lot of folks that are even, brand new up to some guys that are very seasoned, all of them are going to get value from what he has to say. Now if I can just check my notes here, I want to remember. So the title of his talk is going to be Balancing Quality and Speed While Shooting for the Job You Want, which is a super powerful statement because, at the end of the day, we're in real estate photography. We don't have a lot of time. There's not a lot of budget there. But at the same time, a lot of us want to move up into the interior world or into the higher end shooting world. So Gary's going to help folks recognize and figure out how to shoot as well as they possibly can, efficiently as they can, while not sacrificing quality. And I think that's just one of the most powerful things that any shooter in our industry could benefit from.
Sure, and I think shooting like that will also enable people to make that leap, like you just said, into more high-end interior work. Yeah.
Actually, and to that point, that's a good segue because I did have a conversation with Tony Roslund. And again, I don't want to put words in his mouth because we haven't 100% firmed up a topic for him. But one of the things that he wanted to touch on, and I think Scott too a little bit, is making that jump from real estate to interior to architecture. Because there's some folks in our industry, and I would consider myself one of the guys who I don't really have ambitions of moving up and being, a super high-end architectural photographer traveling the world. I'm happy running my business, managing things, being able to spend time with my family and that kind of stuff. But those guys, I think, are going to touch a little bit on the steps necessary to make the most out of your real estate business, translate or transition that slightly into interior. And then from there, you have the opportunity to move right on into full-time commercial interior, commercial interior and architectural photography if you want. So the goal here at the end of the day for this entire conference was to make sure that anyone who comes through that door, whether they've had a camera in their hand for 5 minutes or 5 years or 15 years, they're going to come out of there with at least a few sort of tools or nuggets of knowledge that they can apply to their business the minute that they get home.
Yeah, and I think, for the cost of what you're getting to register, I mean, the amount of information that you're going to get out of it is just absolutely insane. I mean, I just think about the tutorials that are out there and the webinars that even we put on, and you're dollar for dollar, what you're getting for 2 full days of this stuff is just, it's incredible.
Well, and that was the hope. Again, at the end of the day, we're trying to elevate the industry as a whole. So we want to make this as available to as many people as we possibly can. And trust me, guys, I mean, I think the last time we talked, I was sitting in my hotel room in Vegas when I was down there scoping out some places. And I looked at dozens and dozens and dozens of venues. And it was putting together an event like this is way harder than I ever anticipated. And there's a lot more cost involved than I could have imagined. So trying to keep the cost down was a challenge, but it was an absolute necessity. And I wasn't going to go ahead with this event unless I could commit completely that we were going to make it as affordable as we possibly could to as many people as we possibly could while providing as much value as we could. And I really do believe that we've done that. And I'm getting really excited. We're at the point now where it's starting to get fun, you know, in the sense that the speakers are locked down, the venue's locked down. You know, for the most part now, it's just sort of managing the details and logistics and making sure that everybody is able to get there and that nothing crazy happens. So we're super excited.
And I want to add that you pointed out all the concrete things that will be there, the things that are scheduled, but there is so much. I have an anticipation of so much information you can't put a price on. You can't really say what it's going to be that you're going to learn, but you will just 2 days hanging out with everybody, from me to Brian to you to all the other guys. And I'm not even involved with the conference, but I am sure going to be there, and it's just going to be an opportunity to meet people you've wanted to for years. And this is everybody in the groups and people you've respected, and getting so much information that you couldn't even put a list of what people are going to get out of this. And another thing too is it's going to be a whole lot of fun going to Vegas for 2 or 3 days. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it, and just getting these speakers in there. It's like icing on the cake. So I think it's just the whole package. And a lot of this, you can't put a finger on what you're going to learn, and you could put a price tag on it, but you're going to learn so much. You'll walk away going, not only did I have a great time, but I learned a lot of stuff to work on in the future, and just the connections you're going to make and meeting industry people. It's just going to be priceless. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I appreciate that, Rich. And you know, to that point, you know, one conversation can change your life.
Yep, exactly.
Right? So if you're in a room with, you know, hundreds of other folks in your industry, some that are at the pinnacle, some that are just starting out, you never know who you're going to bump into and, you know, what kind of conversation can happen. I've had a lot of that happen in my life where, you know, randomly someone has reached out to me and it's been a voicemail and a returned call. And before you know it, you're on the phone for 3 hours and the trajectory of your life has kind of changed. So there's value in gathering us folks together, you know? Mm-hmm. So I mean, again, like you said, I kind of I'm with you on that in the sense that it's a little bit priceless because yes, there's the speakers. Yes, there's the fun, all that kind of stuff, but you just don't know what kind of relationships or conversations you're going to come out of there with. And then on top of it, and I can't get into too much detail because I haven't firmed a lot of this up, but you know, general admission is $5.99, and the plan, you know, we have vendor involvement. I can't touch on that too much because we're still finalizing that, but probably in a month we'll have a heck of a lot more information. But there are going to be giveaways, there are going to be discount codes, there are going to be certain things that vendors are bringing to the table. So again, at the end of the day, if you're spending $5.99 to come to this conference, but you're coming home with a couple $100 worth of discounts or free trials or whatever that looks like, there's all that value built in. And I'm not going to go and promote the event on that basis, but there is definitely going to be some value adds over and above what we've already talked about. So, you know, I'm really excited and I'm super confident that people are going to come away from this event feeling like it was well worth their time and their investment. And then again, like I said, I really believe it's going to bring, I mean, one of my biggest goals is to bring this community closer together. So, and I think that's going to be accomplished by the fact that we're all going to be in the same room for a couple of days, plus we're going to have a cool party and yeah, it'll just be great. So we're really excited.
And one of our goals, Brian and I are going to be coming down there and possibly doing some interviews and things like that and Facebook Lives. And I mean, our goal, I would think, would be we want to make this to all those people that didn't come and weren't able to show up going, I want to come next year. I'm not going to miss it. And it's just going to be so much fun.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing some. We're definitely going to be doing some recordings there, and we don't know yet how many Facebook Lives we'll be able to do. But whenever Rich and I have a couple of minutes, we'll be doing some Facebook Lives to our Facebook page. So,
Cool.
when November rolls around, definitely come and follow our page as, we'll be broadcasting. And something we spoke about, I'll go off on a little side tangent for a second, Brandon, is hopefully within the next couple of months before leading up to the show, we're going to try to get as many of the speakers as we can on with us, probably via Facebook, to our Facebook page, just for some quick little interviews to kind of go over what they plan to speak about and introduce themselves to everybody. And it will give all the attendees or the people who have not yet registered that we're hoping register a chance to meet some of the speakers and see what they're all about.
Yeah, that's awesome, and we'll definitely work to coordinate that kind of stuff. I'm sure all the speakers will be eager to sort of share what they're talking about, and they'll be all for that. And then on top of it, going back to your point about being at the conference and doing interviews, we'll make sure when you guys are there, we've kind of got it set up so that you guys will be sort of vendors to some extent, and we're gonna, I'll be talking with the guys that are running the venue to make sure that we can get you sort of as much access as we can to whatever area of the venue that you need, so that if you guys want to go backstage and talk to folks, or even if you want to hang out on the stage and do something live while something's going on, we'll make sure that all that kind of stuff is available so that you can then turn around.
Casino and buffet. You're going to do some interviews at the buffet. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward.
Well, we do have Rich. We do have in this venue. Like, I don't know how much we've talked about the actual venue itself, but the best way I can explain it is kind of like almost like a dinner theater type venue. So a lot of folks are expecting to come to a conference room where you have a stage and a screen and a bunch of fold out chairs. But in this case, we have a room that is literally built. It's called the showroom at South Pointe. And so it's built for music and comedians and all that kind of stuff. And so it's actually a 3-tiered theater where you've got seating on the floor with some booths around it and some tables and chairs. And then you go up a level and you've got another round of booths and tables and chairs. And then same thing with the third level. And then you've also got a couple full service bars that are going to be open through the entire thing.
Cocktail waitresses coming through. Okay.
So there you go. If you want to get yourself a beer and drink while you're watching, then you have that ability. So we're again, the goal here is to make this as loose and fun and as an experience as we possibly can, so that people are enjoying the entire thing, not just the in-between. So again, I can't say it enough. We're super stoked. It's funny because it's 4 months out and some change. And although there's a lot of work to be done, I just can't wait for it. I'm literally already losing sleep for it. So yeah, we're stoked.
Nice. Well, let me ask you, because you just described the layout of the theater, and I know you and I spoke via phone probably, I don't know, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. And we were kind of talking about what the plan would be for like the vendor hall, or would you set up vendors in the back of the theater, or are you going to have a separate room? Have you come to any conclusions on that, or is that still all up in the air at this point?
No, I have come to some conclusions. So and this is one of the cool things, when we first launched the conference, one of my number one concerns was, how am I going to get vendor involvement? How am I going to get some sponsorship? Because this is a massively huge financial undertaking and we definitely need some support. I was a little nervous about that, and I wasn't sure how to incorporate the vendors. So I just started making phone calls and talking to the different vendors that I know and just saying, hey, this is the first year we're doing this. So we have a very unique situation where you can actually be involved from the ground level and tell us as a vendor how you would like to be involved. So we pitched the idea of, do you want a vendor hall? Do you want to do a conference or a trade show style situation? And the overwhelming feedback was no. We want to be in the room with everybody. We want to see the speakers. We want to be rubbing shoulders with the clients, because a lot of these vendors are going to have a lot of clients in the room that they've dealt with for a decade, and they're going to want to be beside them. They're going to want to meet them and talk to them and see them in person. And so what we ended up doing, and I won't release official numbers in terms of how I'm organizing, because that's still a little bit up in the air. But if you can picture, like I said, sort of a dinner theater type style room. We've got individual chairs, we've got booths, and we've got tables with chairs, and they're all set in like a half moon. So what I decided to do was allocate a certain amount of the booth tables as vendor tables, sort of the way that we would as if we were going to have like vendor booths outside in some separate room. So we're going to sell those tables to those vendors individually, just a portion of them. I've got sort of a maximum number that I'm willing to sell because we want to make sure that we keep the ratio between vendor participants and general attendees at a good balance. We don't want 200 vendors and 400 attendees kind of thing, right? So that's kind of the way things are going to go. We're going to sell those tables. There's essentially 3 tiers of vendor involvement. Number one is, and I'm kind of backtracking here, so bear with me because I'm thinking about everything as I go here. But let's say you're a vendor rep for B&H and you look after, a flash company or a camera company, and you just want to show up because you want to be there and see it, talk to a few folks, but you don't really want to have a huge presence. That guy can buy a vendor pass, no different than a general attendance, and he'll just get a different lanyard so that he looks different than everybody else, so that the general attendees know he's a vendor of some sort and they can approach him if they want to talk to him. Number 2 is going to be that booth idea where you can purchase a booth as a company and you'll have X amount of attendees that can come as a part of that booth. So those vendors will have that booth for the life of the conference. They'll have it throughout day 1 and day 2 as well as the party, because a lot of the vendors want a home base and they want to be able to say to folks, hey, we're at booth such and such, come and visit us when you have some time. Gives them a little bit of a home base, gives general attendees an opportunity to know where to go when they want to see different vendors. And then there is going to be a couple other opportunities to sponsor the party that we're going to have. And then we're in talks with a couple different companies about doing like a title sponsor of the overall event, which is going to help us cover overhead. And then obviously in return, they would get some presence at the conference, some branding, be involved in some of the different events and that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the different vendors. And I'm not sure how many vendors we're going to have. We're in a bit of a tough spot this year because it is a smaller event and we just weren't sure what to expect. So unfortunately, I say this, unfortunately we have more vendors interested than we can take. So it causes a bit of a dynamic there. But that's something I'm going to have to kind of work through myself. So.
I guess that's a bad problem to have.
Well, it's a good problem and it's a bad problem, right?
Yeah.
We obviously need some revenue to help with the overhead, but you don't
want to disappoint to people.
Well, that's the thing, right? We want to let everybody that wants to be involved, but it's just for year 1, it's just not reasonable because we don't have any numbers to go off of. After year 1, we'll have a much better idea of what to expect and then we can kind of plan for it. Right now, we're kind of just, a lot of this is guessing, to be completely honest. So we don't, we picked a venue based on what we thought made sense. And what came with that was some restrictions. So it's just a reality that we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you one question, Maine? What is the timeline of the days? What's going on? And are you going to be having anything going on the day before, like a pre-registration, or what's the festivity level going on? What's going on?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So officially, day 1, we'll probably, and again, I'll get this out. When I say officially, I mean like conference official. We're probably looking like 9 to 5, give or take a bit, on both days for the conference itself. It's going to be a mix of speakers, and then on day 2, we are also going to have like a panel with a handful of the professionals on stage, just fielding questions from the audience. So from a schedule perspective, if we were to say 9 to 5 on both days, that would be relatively safe, give or take a few minutes, depending on how things go. At the end of day 1, so let's say for argument's sake, we end at 5 o'clock or 5:30, we will leave the room. They're going to redo the room. We're actually coming back to the same space for the party. So that party will probably start about 7:30. And again, I'm guessing like in the next month or so, we'll have an official agenda out because we're at the point now where we've pretty much finalized the speakers list. So we can finally now schedule everything and actually start saying who's going to be when, what day, all that kind of stuff. And then we can also firm up the party. So realistically, 9 to 5, day 1, the party's going to start probably 7:30. It'll probably go to midnight. And then for those who want to carry on, can move out into the casino and the lounges and stuff that are surrounding. And then day 2 will start again at 9. And that's pretty much it for that. Now, in terms of stuff outside of the conference, we don't have anything planned, but I do know there's a lot of folks coming in a couple days early and staying a few days late. which was part of our goal. So I'm excited to hear that, people bring in their spouses to make a weekend out of it and things like that. So there should be opportunity for people to hook up and hang out who haven't met before. And Rich, I don't know if I'm out of line here bringing this up, but you did suggest to me at one point the idea of maybe putting together, even so, like you were thinking about maybe putting together a walk around Vegas or something like that the day before. I think if you were to just throw that out into the groups, I've already heard enough folks saying, hey guys, let's go do something cool. If you were to do something like that, I think you'd have a huge crew without much trouble.
Yeah, I'm really, so much of me is meeting people that I sort of know. And like even you, Brian and Brandon, I know you, and Brian, I've known you, but we've never met. So it's going to be an opportunity to just get together with people, and it's just going to be a great opportunity. And I'm thinking of doing something. I hesitant to commit to something, but I'm going to try and get something together, a photo walk or some kind of a get together the day before. And we'll see how it goes, but it's just going to be, I want to keep it loose on my end and not a lot of obligations, maybe in the future, but we're going to be, trying to get together with people, but it's really, I think there'll be plenty of opportunity for people to get together with so many other people. Be your pick of people.
So Tuesday night party in Rich's hotel room?
Yeah, that's definitely. I won't be there, but you can come up in my room and bring a couple of 6-packs of beer and hang out. But no, there's going to be a lot of opportunities there. And you know what they say? What happens in Vegas? Well, it comes home with you.
Yeah, so you're already making excuses.
I'm going to be a good boy. Yeah,
there you go. Talk a big game now, eh?
Exactly.
But you know what? To that point, actually, I wanted to make one plug if I could. We do have a private Facebook group set up for the attendees.
Mm-hmm.
We've kept it so that obviously the only way you get into that group is by being registered, and the only reason for that is we want to make sure that we're sharing information with proper people. So anyone who has registered, please make sure that you do that and answer the question. Again, like I said earlier today, I'm not real savvy on the social, but I do know that when you have a private group, you got to answer that question before I can let you in. So make sure we've got a huge waiting list sitting right now on our Facebook group waiting for approval, but they haven't answered the question. I've tried to look their names up, but it's not coming through for whatever reason. Maybe they booked through a spouse or something like that. So if you've registered, join the Facebook group. It's the best way to get up-to-date information in terms of like anything that might be changing or schedule changes, or if, like you said, Rich decides last minute to do some kind of a walk, you drop that note in the Facebook group and you've got all those people meeting you in the lobby or something like that. So same goes for you guys. I don't know if I've got either of you in the group yet, but
yeah, I'm in the group for sure.
Okay, cool.
But also, if you have any new announcements that you want us to pass along besides your group, just let us know, and we'll be happy to post those on our pages and anywhere else we can. And like I said, we're going to try to do as much Facebook Lives as we can with some of the speakers, maybe even vendors if they want, who knows, but definitely the speakers. So make sure you like our Shooting Spaces Facebook page. And if we do that, we'll announce those on your PFRE conference group page that we're going live with so-and-so, so everyone can tune in.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be great. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure the vendor or the speakers will be happy to cooperate, and I'm sure the vendors, any vendor that you want to talk to, just a matter of reaching out to them. I'm sure they'd want to jump on board too. So
yeah, awesome. So we'll try to set those up in the next couple of weeks to start bringing as many of the speakers on as we can, even for just 10 minutes, just to kind of let everyone get an idea of who these people are if they're not familiar, and just what their agendas will be for their talks, and hopefully that'll bring in some additional registration.
Yeah, for sure.
So let me ask you, as far as registration, I know you mentioned it was $5.99, right?
Yep.
I know it's not as many tickets as you can sell. I know seats are limited. So just to give people an idea of, what they have to look forward to the next couple of months so they don't miss out on it. How many tickets do you have left for sale, if you don't mind telling us that? So, because we want to make sure that people don't get closed out or don't miss out on this. How many tickets do you have left, and where can they go and find out more information and register?
Yeah, so right now we're let me think here, you kind of put me on the spot, but we're about 25% out, sold out. So let's say, I don't know, 300 seats left.
Okay, so
Give
it's
or
not that
take.
much.
No, it's not a lot. And here's the one thing that's kind of a kicker is that we've negotiated a rate with the hotel that's better than anything I've ever been able to come close to in Vegas, where $55 per night, which is 76 including fees and taxes, and that includes valet parking for anyone that's driving in. Plus, you have the free shuttle to the airport, and it's only about a $9 Uber from the airport. So the only issue with that is that the hotel is only going to honor that rate up until 30 days prior to the event. That's something I'm working on with them. I'm pushing them to say, hey, can you give us more? At least can you bump it up to 2 weeks? But they have been so incredibly gracious to us from the beginning. It's kind of a tough sell. So I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off. So as of right now, if you don't book your rooms prior to 30 days out, you'll be subject to whatever their rates are. And that room, to be completely honest, that hotel, their rates are pretty reasonable regardless. But $55 is kind of unheard of. So if you're even thinking about going to the conference and you're unsure about booking your ticket, just get your room to make sure that you're secure, and then go from there. So again, 30 days out is when they will be pulling that, and I'm trying desperately to work with them to extend it, but I just don't know if it's going to happen or not.
And Brandon,
if you want to,
sorry, go ahead. No, it's just going to throw in when I know that you've got this extended period of time for these room rates. What dates? Because the conference is, if I'm not incorrect, it's a Thursday and Friday, or Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday, yeah.
Right. So when does it start? Because people want to book their Las Vegas vacation.
Right. Good point. So last I checked, you can check in as early as Monday and as late as Friday. They won't give us the rate for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Don't quote me on this, but I'm 99% sure they'll honor the $55 rate for those 4 days. Wow. After that, you're subject to their rates. But that being said, I was there on the weekend of the, I can't remember their names, the big fight, the boxing match in, what was it? Anyhow,
Ali and Frazier. Yeah, it was a great fight.
But my room, I think my room was 189, and they told me that's about as expensive as they get. So still very reasonable. But hey, if you can take advantage of that $55, why wouldn't you?
And the plane fare, I went to Southwest when they had some sales, and they do periodic sales. But granted, I'm only coming from California, but it was like $175 round trip. So I'm really stoked. It's a really reasonable. You
should be.
Reasonable.
We don't get those rates up here. I can tell you that much.
Well, that's because we pay so much to live in California that it just evens out, Brandon.
Yeah.
And you've got one more person I wanted to bring up, Vince Colora.
Yes.
You've got, and I think it's okay to say it because he's on your website, but I just want to say that as I have a history with so many people like you and Brian, Vince actually came to my last workshop, and he's a great guy, and he is. What is he talking about? But he's full of information and really an interesting and funny and great guy. So what's he talking about?
I should sort of apologize for that. He's not technically signed up as a speaker. What Vince and I kind of just met in the last couple months, just chatting, and he sort of hit it off. He, like you said, he's a super cool guy. He's very interesting, super knowledgeable, and he's got just a very interesting story and history and contact base, and he's just a super smart guy. And so we got talking about a whole bunch of different things with regards to the conference and real estate photography in general, and I was sharing with him sort of the overall agenda and the plan that we had for the conference in terms of how we were going to lay things out. And I mentioned to him the panel that we're going to do with some of the professionals so that they can answer, and there was discussion about a moderator. And as I was talking, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, holy smokes, this is the guy that needs to moderate this thing. And thankfully, I didn't even have to ask. He said, hey, I'd like to get involved. And if, I'd be happy to moderate that if you want. And I just instantly was like, oh my God, I'm so thankful that you said that, because I can't think. Originally, I was actually going to have Tony Colangelo do it, but he's so heavily involved already. He's going to sort of be the MC of the entire event. Plus, he's also doing his own talk. I just thought, man, what a perfect fit for someone like Vince to have the opportunity to facilitate that conversation between the audience and the pros on stage. So we had that talk, and he said, yeah, I'm in 100%. And that's where that came from. So yeah, I feel kind of bad for not bringing that up. Thanks for reminding me.
Well, that's another thing of just Vince will be there, and I'm sure he'll be happy. Knowing Vince, he'll be happy to answer questions and talk and just rap about what we all love, because we're all geeks and we all love talking about it. But that's just another person that'll be there you can talk to and hang out with and just soak up information. It's priceless. Totally. It's great.
Yeah, he's got a lot of information. That is for sure. Yeah. One smart guy.
Great. All right, cool. And where can people go and register and find out more information if they want to take a look at all the bios of the speakers and register and everything else?
Sure. So the best thing to do right now, because the registration page is its own software and it's living on its own cloud. So the easiest thing to do is just go to photographyforrealestate.net. And if you click on the home banner, that'll take you directly to the registration page. And there's also a button, an advertisement sort of right near the top left corner of the page with our PFRE Conference logo. If you click that, it'll take you to the conference page as well. And then once you're on that conference page, the link to booking the hotel with the preferred rate is built right into that. So you can make sure that you'll get that rate. If you do decide to call in and just book your hotel over the phone, just reference PFRE Conference and we'll make sure to honor that rate for you.
All right, cool. So, Brandon, we definitely want to thank you for coming on. We're running low on time here. I think this was definitely great to kind of just bring some insight to not only all the work you're doing behind the scenes, but what people can expect when they come to the conference as far as speakers, vendors, parties, everything else. It's going to be a good time and just full of fantastic education. And there's just going to be so much to learn. And like I said previously, but I can't reiterate it enough, for what you're spending on and dollar for dollar, I mean, the value is just incredible, what you're going to end up, with after 2 days. So I want to strongly urge anyone that is not yet registered to definitely register or highly consider coming out, because it's definitely worthwhile. And you're definitely going to miss out if you're not there. I'll be there, Rich will be there, and I've spoken to dozens of other people that are going to be there. So, we're all excited.
Yeah, cool. And I appreciate that. And at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, there's certain events out there that if there's less people, it's better for the attendees. But as far as I'm concerned, for a conference like this, the more people that are there, the better it is for everybody. There's more opportunity to cross paths with people. And one of the things I didn't touch on, which is kind of exciting about the conference, is that as of today, there are 33 states represented already in our existing attendee base. Wow. And there's attendees coming from 5 countries already. We've got USA, Canada, Australia, Germany, and France. So it is really officially an international event. You're going to get to meet like-minded people from around the world. So if that's not reason enough to go, I don't know what it is.
No, for sure. It's incredible. I've said this on air before, and I've said this to you, Rich. It's incredible. You don't realize when we started this podcast how far the reach is. And we have people that listen in Australia and Europe, everywhere that email us that they listen. So, yeah, I think, you're giving people the perfect place to try to get together and, meet everyone and just network. Just being, our community is so small that, even a couple hundred people getting together is so worthwhile. That it's gonna be a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, us too.
All right, so we want to thank you again for coming on, Rich. It's been a pleasure. I know we're taking a break for a couple of weeks. You and I are gonna have a chance to focus on our business, our own personal businesses, and come up with some new things for webinars and all that. But even while we're not releasing podcasts, as I mentioned, we're going to hopefully be doing some Facebook Lives with some of the speakers. So make sure you go to Facebook and follow, or I should say, our Shooting Spaces Facebook page. And once we have these Facebook Lives scheduled out, we will give everybody ample notice to go out and make sure you like that page so you're privy to when that stuff comes out. But other than that, Rich?
Just don't miss the party. You look back and go, man, I wish I was there. So I'm going to be there. But I just want to, again, thank you so much, Brandon, for coming on and putting everything out there for everybody. And, it's really an easy process. You can register and and even getting your plane ticket and stuff it's just Vegas. So it's so nice and easy and all accessible, really easy. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I just want to say thank you, and I want to say as Brian said, let's keep Shooting Spaces. Please register. Please subscribe. Check out our website, shootingspacespodcast.com, which you're on, hopefully, or shootingspaces.net, and got some great information. And Brandon's at PFRE, or Photography for Real Estate.net. And it's a great resource. If you're not familiar with it, great resource to get all the information you need, ask questions, just all kinds of things. So it's really good information out there for you to get. And I just want to say thank you to both of you for coming there. Thank you all for listening. And everybody out there, just go and shoot, have some fun, and just go shoot some spaces.
This episode of Shooting Spaces has been brought to you by hdphotohub.com. Helping your real estate photography business grow and stay on the cutting edge. Just upload your photos and your clients will get a property website, social media flyers, and videos, all automatically. Register today at hdphotohub.com using referral code Shooting Spaces, and you get your first property marketing kit absolutely free. HD Photo Hub is where great photos become a powerful marketing kit. Again, that's hdphotohub.com.
This has been Shooting Spaces. For more episodes, visit shootingspacespodcast.com and visit our education site at shootingspaces.net.